situation, even as, of course, the US threatens further tariffs on China because of their policy of reciprocity, in which the Chinese have further increased tariffs on the US?
Look, the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump may speak to his Chinese counterpart. Frankly, that only emboldens the Chinese to react even more forcefully. But the reality of the situation is, and I've gone by the cabinet choices of Trump on security, this is a very China-focused administration. From the US Trade Representative, right to Commerce Secretary, Defense Secretary, National Security Advisor, CIA, FBI, the Director of National Intelligence, all of them are China-focused. And these tariffs are very China-focused. China basically raised tariffs, thinking that Trump will back down and they can negotiate. Instead of which, Trump has actually doubled down on it. And now the tariffs are extremely high. So very frankly, what the intention is to drive China out of global markets. Now, the Chinese are spending vast amounts of money as subsidy. They are spending, public spending has gone up substantially. It will go up even more. That the reality of the situation is that the Americans believe that China is a mortal threat to them, and that if China emerges as the top economy in the world, that's the end of the dollar, that's the end of their security. It's a very bad augury for the world. As far as the Europeans are concerned, frankly, the Trump tariffs are not really directed at Europe. They're directed at China. Now, the Chinese are being forced to build a railway line all the way from production centers in China, bypassing Russia and cutting through some other countries where, frankly, they may face problems, into Europe to try and increase exports to Europe. They're desperate because they know US exports to US are going to fall. And as far as Europe is concerned, they'll have to take a decision, as correctly said by Mitali, between the US and China. Yeah, you can't play with both, as you did so often in the past. And I think the Singaporeans have realized that. They were playing with both China and the US. They were the bridge, and later on they became good trading partners of both. But the Singapore Prime Minister has made it very clear that era is over. Now we have an era of confrontation, which we have not seen before, is what the Singapore Prime Minister said for people of Singapore in a broadcast. So I'd like to say this is a very targeted move against China. And India has been very wise to react in a very moderate manner. I mean, frankly, so has Japan, so has South Korea, and the Europeans also. Personally, I would advise them to react in a moderate manner. And the Chinese are hoping they would react spectacularly and carry forward this and make it a real trade war. As of now, it's a US-China trade war. And it can be made a trade war only if the governments in Europe do not know that, and they basically act as though it's a global trade war. It's not yet a global trade war. It will be horrible if it will become a global trade war. It's basically a war concerning the future. What Mitali was saying, superpower, big power, semiconductors, all that is true. And that's exactly why these people are motivated to levy these tariffs. I think the Chinese are in a bind, and I don't believe the Europeans are going to get away for very long. If they keep buying Chinese stuff, I can assure you they're going to be hit by tariffs. So they'll have to come to a decision. I mean, India under Prime Minister Modi has taken a decision to be friendly with the United States. It's a very wise decision, despite our traditional friendship with Russia. And I would like to say the Europeans also would be well advised to rely on the United States, to rely on a democracy, whatever its imperfections, rather than an authoritarian state, whatever short-term advantages you get. And as has correctly been said, the reality is China offers short-term nirvana and long-term problem. So I would say that the tipping point is being reached. If it is not, I mean, it is, or maybe it's shortly going to be reached. And I believe most European countries are going to choose the United States over China. Thank you.